Hello and welcome to my review of the Black Templars Index found in the Psychic Awakening Book 2 Faith and Fury. Right here, this book will cost you £25. The reason why I'm calling this Black Templars kind of mini codex an index is because it's very akin to the indexes found in the White Dwarf magazines. Typically about 20 pages. I think this one is 14 pages. It includes some chapter specific rules, Warlord Traits, Relics, name generator, and a few data sheets. So we're going to have an in-depth review of this index, much in the same vein as the Inquisition Index that I reviewed yesterday. Now, it's similar to the Phoenix Rising book. It's larger by a little bit, but that it has a section with specific data sheets and a bit of stratagems and things like that. So this is the way they're going. I haven't got book 3. Book 3 doesn't really interest me as much because it's going to be in the same format as these. It focuses on Blood Angels or Flesh Tearers and Tyranids. Now Tyranids would have interested me if they had a brand new Tyranid model or an updated old model like the Red Terror or something, but they haven't got any of that. And I don't really have that much interest in getting it. And we'll see if my opinion changes with the 4th book. So this Faith and Fury book includes this Black Templars Index. The reason why I got this was because of the word bearers. But again, I feel like all of these little indexes, well, they weren't really indexes. They were basically warlord traits, stratagems, artifacts, tactical objectives and name generators. So those 6 pages I felt could have been included in future White Dwarf magazines instead of a £25 book. Anyway, going back to the Black Templars, it starts on page 42 right here, and it gives you a little bit of backstory and fiction behind some of the key characters, such as High Marshal Helbrecht, Chaplin Grimaldi, the Empress Champion, and Crusader Squads. This is the main part of the kind of Codex supplement. It's the supplement to the Codex Space Marines. You need a copy of Space Marine Codex for this. And they are Zealous Crusaders. So abilities, they've got Knights of Sigismund. Whilst the assault doctrine is active, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a Black Templars model with this ability against a unit that is not a vehicle in a turn in which that model made a charge move or performed a heroic intervention, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds the target. In brackets, do not make a wound roll. That has to be one of the longest sentences ever. That's huge. But yeah, you get 6 and it automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds the target. So that's pretty good. The Lost Librarius. Librarian units cannot be from the Black Templars chapter, so you can't take librarians. Chosen Champion. The chapter champion stratagem, page 39, cannot be used to affect Black Templars units. Now the stratagem, it says here, look, so you go back a bit and you've got chapter champion there. So no librarians and no chosen champion stratagem. Okay, we're on to a good start then. So you've got the first of 3 HQ choices here. High Marshal Helbrecht is a power points cost of a 9, pretty pricey. If we go to his points, which is just here on page 53, he's 150 points. Wow. That's a lot. That's quite high. What do you get for this 150 points? Well, his stat line reads movement of 6 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, toughness 4, 6 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 9, and a save of 2+. It's a single model equipped with combi melter, sword of the High Marshals, frag grenades, crack grenades, and you can only include one of this model in your army. So the combi melter, when you choose this weapon to shoot with, select one or both of the profiles below. If you select both, subtract 1 from the hit rolls and attacks made with this weapon. So bolt gun is normal weapon, 24-inch, rapid fire 1, strength 4, AP 0, and damage of 1. And the melter gun is a 12-inch, assault 1, strength 8, AP -4, and a damage of D6. And then when resolving an attack made with this weapon against a unit that is within half range, you roll 2d6 when inflicting damage with it and discard one of the results. Works like normal melter weapons then. Sword of the High Marshals. It's a melee weapon, strength is +1, so he's hitting on strength 5. AP is -3, brilliant, and damage of D3. Also, when the bearer fights in a turn in which it made a charge move or performed a heroic intervention, it makes D3 additional attacks with this weapon. Excellent, so he's getting 5 attacks. If he charges, then you could potentially have 8 strength of 5, AP -3 attacks. Pretty good. Frag grenades and crack grenades work as usual. Abilities, he's got Angels of Death, which aren't included in this. You're going to have to find them in the Space Marine Codex. Chapter Master, you can re-roll hit rolls for attacks made by models in friendly Black Templars units whilst their unit is within 6 inches of this model. Pretty good, 6 inch, not a huge bubble though. Crusade of Wrath, add 1 to the strength characteristic of friendly Black Templar models whilst their unit is within 6 inches of this model. Again, quite a small bubble, but it's nice to add an extra strength. And then Iron Halo, this model has a 4+ invulnerable. Keywords, Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Black Templars, Character, Infantry, Chapter Master, and Marshal Helbrecht. So pretty good. You know, save 2+, 4+ invulnerable. He's got a lot of wounds, a lot of attacks. His weapon skills 2+. He's got a nice little combi weapon too. Yeah, he's quite decent. You know, well-rounded, 150 points, fine. Next HQ is the Empress Champion. Now this was my favourite kind of 20 years ago or so. I bought the original model, I have him somewhere, he's in metal. Then they brought out this Empress Champion, which is also very good. I'm not sure if he's better, he's definitely got more detail, but I just like the double-handed you know, sword there that he had, you know, in the older model. He will cost you a power points cost of a 9 and a points cost of 75. Very cheap. Excellent cost there for this HQ choice. What do you get for this 9 power points? Well, you get a movement of 6 inches, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 4 wounds, 5 attacks, leadership 9, and a save of 2+. So the Empress Champion is a single model equipped with bolt pistol, black sword, frag grenades, crack grenades, and you can only include 1 in your army. Bolt pistol works as normal. Black sword, though, is unique to him. It's a melee weapon, adds +2 strength, so that's a strength 6, AP -3, and a damage of D3. When resolving an attack made with this weapon against a character or monster unit, you can reroll the wound roll. Pretty good. Frag grenades and crack grenades work as normal. Abilities, Angels of Death, Sigismund's Honour, add 1 to this model's strength and attacks characteristics whilst it's within 1 inch of any enemy character models. Skillful Parry, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon against this model, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And Slayer of Champions, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this model against an enemy character unit, you can reroll the hit roll. And then Armour of Faith, 4+ invulnerable. Keywords, Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Black Templars, Character, Infantry, Empress Champion. He's a very, very decent unit. His power points cost a lot. It's the same as Helbrecht. I'm not sure whether that's a typo, but his points cost is half points compared to Helbrecht. Yes, he doesn't have that aura of influence per se, but he's got a lot of attacks. He can reroll the hit rolls against characters. He can reroll the wound rolls against characters. He adds 1 strength against characters, so basically that's a strength 7. All enemy models have to subtract 1 from the hit roll against him. Very decent. I think before he used to have 2 wounds or maybe 3. He did have his invulnerable save, he did have a standard 2+ save as well, but the black sword worked differently. Like, he could hold it in 2 hands and get like a strength 8 attack, or he could just have a normal swing and add like +1 strength or so. So I think they've refined the rules down for the Empress Champion, and still an excellent model to take for 75 points. I think now you get him in resin rather than metal though. The next HQ is Chaplin Grimaldi. He's a power points cost of a 6, so it's the cheapest of these in terms of power points cost. He is a points cost of 90 though, so he's in between them both. What do you get for these points? Movement of 6 inches, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 4, 3 attacks, leadership 9, and a save of 3+. He's a single model equipped with a plasma pistol, Artificer, Crozius, frag grenades, crack grenades. You can only include 1 of this model in your army. So the plasma pistol works just as a normal plasma pistol would, so you can supercharge it and get strength 8 damage to AP -3 with it. The Artificer Crozius is a melee weapon, adds +2 to the strength, so that's strength 6, AP -2 and a damage of 2, very decent, and you've got frag and crack grenades. His abilities, Angels of Death, Spiritual Leader. Friendly Black Templars units can use this model's leadership characteristic instead of their own whilst they are within 6 inches of this model. Devout Puritan. This model can attempt to resist 1 psychic power in your opponent's psychic phase in the same manner as a Psyker by taking a Deny the Witch test. Unmatched Zeal. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in a friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this model, on an unmodified hit roll of a 6, you can make 1 additional attack against the same unit using the same weapon. This additional attack cannot generate another attack. And then Rosarius, this model has a 4+ invulnerable save. Priest, this model knows the Litany of Hate, see below, we've got it there, and either 2 litanies from the Litanies of Battle, see Codex Space Marines, or 2 litanies from the Litanies of Devout, page 49. At the start of the battle round, this model can recite 2 litanies it knows that have not already been recited by a friendly model that battle round. Roll 1d6. On a 3+, the recited litany is inspiring and takes effect until the end of the battle round. Litany of Hate. If this litany is inspiring, you can re-roll hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by models in friendly Black Templars units whilst their unit is within 6 inches of this model. Keywords: Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Black Templars, Character, Infantry, Priest, Master of Sanctity, Chaplin and Grimaldus. So a very, very decent Chaplin, not too costly with points, gives you... he can resist psychic powers. When you get 6s, you get additional attacks. He's got his invulnerable save. He's only got 3 attacks though with the Artificer Crozier, so I would have liked to have seen him have 4, and I would have liked his save to be 2+. But you know, that's what it is. His plasma pistol has got a bit of a punch to it, and he's got, you know, the main reason you're going to get him is all of these Litanies of Hate, is all of these Litanies of Battle, and that Litany of Hate as well. Now we're on to elites. So you've got the Cenobite Servitors, which is a power points cost of a 1 and a points cost of 2 per model. It says this unit contains 3, so obviously that would be 6 points for this unit. Very, very cheap unit. Their movement speed is 5 inches. Their weapon skill and ballistic skill are both 5+. A strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 6 and a save of 4+, so not the best. Contains 3 Cenobite Servitors. Each model is equipped with a close combat weapon. You can only include 1 of this unit in your army. The close combat weapon is just strength of the user, which is 3, AP 0 and damage 1. Okay, so you know they're not going to be the Empress Champion in combat, are they? But abilities, this is the main reason why you get them, and they're very cheap for these abilities. So you've got Mind Wiped. Models in this unit have weapon skill and ballistic skill characteristics of 4+, and a leadership characteristic of 9, whilst their unit is within 6 inches of Chaplin Grimaldus. So keep them near him. Chaplin's Retinue. If your army is battle forged, this unit does not take up slots in a detachment that includes Chaplin Grimaldus. Again, that's fine, you need to take him for them. And then Relic Hell's Reach. When a model in a friendly Black Templars unit that is within 6 inches of this unit would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6. On a 4+, that wound is not lost. This is not cumulative with any other rules that allow a model to not lose wounds as a result of a mortal wound. That's the main reason. You're getting these 3 Cenobite Servitors to ignore mortal wounds, 50-50 chance. That's the main reason. You know, it's going to be protecting the Chaplain, going to be protecting other characters, units, whatever. Keywords: Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Black Templars, Infantry, Servitors and Cenobite Servitors. And then finally we get to the only troop choice really, the Crusader Squad. There's a few profiles in here, I'll go through them. There are a power points cost of a 5 and a points cost of 13 per model. The neophytes are 11. You can have 20 though, which is incredible. You know, one of the biggest kind of Space Marine units you can get, having 20 per squad. So what do you get? Well, you've got the Initiate, the Neophyte and the Sword Brother. So the Neophyte, we'll start with him first. His movement speed of 6 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill are both 3+, strength and toughness of 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership's only 6 and a save of 4+, so he's basically the worst. Then you've got an Initiate, movement of 6 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 7 and a save of 3+. And then finally you've got the Sword Brother, which is a movement of 6 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 3+. So clearly the Sword Brother's the best one. It says the unit contains 1 Sword Brother and 4 Initiates. It can additionally contain up to 5 Initiates. It can additionally contain up to 5 Neophytes, up to 10 Neophytes. Every model is equipped with bolt pistol, bolt gun, frag grenades and crack grenades. Right here you've got the weapon profiles. You've got an Astartes shotgun, which is a range 12-inch, assault 2, strength 4, AP 0 and damage of 1. When resolving an attack made with this weapon against a unit that is within half range, this weapon has a strength characteristic of 5. You've got other weapons such as the power axe that pluses a strength by 1, AP -2 and a damage of 1. You've got power fist there, times the strength by 2, AP -3 and a damage of D3. And you must subtract 1 from the hit roll. You've got the power maul, which pluses 2 to the strength, -1 AP and 1 damage. And you've got the power sword there, which strength the user, which would be 4, AP -3 and a damage of 1. And then you've got the grenades. War gear options, so this is where it gets a bit complicated, I suppose. Any initiate can be equipped with 1 chainsword instead of 1 bolt gun, that's fine. Any neophyte can be equipped with one of the following instead of 1 bolt gun: 1 Astartes shotgun, 1 combat knife. So they're basically the scouts in the unit. If this unit contains fewer than 10 models, 1 initiate can be equipped with one of the following instead of 1 bolt gun: 1 power axe, 1 power fist, 1 power maul, power sword, 1 weapon from the heavy weapons list, 1 weapon from the special weapons list. If this unit contains 10 or more models, 1 initiate can be equipped with 1 weapon from the special weapons list instead of 1 bolt gun, and 1 initiate can be equipped with 1 following instead of 1 bolt gun: 1 power axe, power sword, power fist, power maul, and 1 weapon from the heavy weapons list. And then the sword brother can be equipped with up to 2 weapons from the sergeant weapons list instead of 1 bolt pistol and 1 bolt gun. So it does get a bit complicated in terms of how many models in that unit and what options are then available. Abilities: Angels of Death and Paired Combatants. Whilst this unit contains at least as many initiates as neophytes, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a neophyte in this unit, reroll hit roll of 1. So yeah, you've got to keep an eye on how many you've got in that unit. Keywords: Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Black Templars, Infantry and Crusader Squad. Then we get on to the Litanies of Devout. So you've got Litanies of Devout, Warlord Traits, Stratagems and Crusade Relics and Tactical Objectives, of which I will go through all of them. So the Litanies of Devout, Black Templars Chaplain model in a Black Templars detachment can know litanies from the Litanies of Devout instead of knowing litanies from the Litanies of Battle. So you can swap your Litanies of Battle from Space Marine Codex to these. So you can either roll a d6 to generate randomly, or you can select which litanies the model knows. So you've got number 1, Litany of Divine Protection. If this litany is inspiring, select 1 friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this model. When a model in that unit would lose a wound, roll 1d6. On a 5+, that wound is not lost. Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. If this litany is inspiring, then when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in a friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this model, re-roll a wound roll of 1. Vow of Retribution. If this litany is inspiring, subtract 2 from the leadership characteristic of models in enemy units whilst their unit is within 6 inches of this model. 4. If this litany is inspiring, select 1 friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this model. If that unit makes a charge move or performs a heroic intervention, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of models in that unit until the end of the turn. 5. Fervent Acclamation. If this litany is inspiring, add 3 inches to the range of friendly Black Templars units' auras ability whilst they are within 6 inches of this model. And 6. Oath of Glory. If this litany is inspiring, select 1 friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this model. That unit always fights first in the fight phase, even if it did not make a charge move that turn. If the enemy has units that have charged or that have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with the player whose turn it is taking place. And then you've got Warlord Traits. Again, you can roll a d6 or pick the one that best suits your Warlord's preferred style of waging war. You've got Oathkeeper. This Warlord can perform a heroic intervention if there are any enemy units within 6 inches of them instead of 3 inches, and when doing so can move up to 6 inches instead of 3. Epitome of Piety. This Warlord can attempt to resist 1 psychic power in your opponent's psychic phase in the same manner as a Psyker by taking a Deny the Witch test. When a Deny the Witch test is taken for this Warlord, add 1 to the total. Paragon of Fury. After this Warlord finishes a charge move, for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this Warlord, roll 1d6. On a 2+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Master of Arms. This Warlord always fights first in the fight phase, even if they did not charge. If the enemy that has units that have charged or have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with a player whose turn it is taking place. Inspirational Fighter. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this warlord on an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon for that attack by 1, i.e. AP 0 becomes AP -1, AP -1 becomes AP -2. And finally, Frontline Commander. When a friendly Black Templars unit within 6 inches of this warlord advances or makes a charge move, add 1 to the advance roll or charge roll. You've got named characters here, a little bit down here. It says if one of the following characters is your warlord, they must have the associated warlord trait shown below. So High Marshal Helbrecht has Frontline Commander. Chaplin Grimaldi has Epitome of Piety. That's to be expected. The Empress Champion has Oathkeeper, again to be expected. Then you've got the stratagems here. Abhor the Witch, 1 command point. Use this stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase. When an enemy psychic model manifests a psychic power within 24 inches of any Black Templars units from your army after the Denial of Witch attempts have been made, roll 1d6. On a 4+, that psychic power is resisted. 1 command point for Crusader Relics. Use this stratagem before the battle. Select 1 Black Templars model from your army that has the word Sergeant or Sword Brother in their profile. That model can have one of the following chapter relics: Witchseeker Bolts, Sword of Judgment, Skull of Cacodominus. All of the relics your army includes must be different and given to different models. Another 1 command point, Devout Push. Use this stratagem at the start of the fight phase. Select 1 Black Templars Infantry unit or 1 Black Templars Biker unit from your army. Until the end of that phase, that unit can pile in, and when that unit consolidates, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 inches. 2 command points for Tenacious Assault. Use this stratagem in the movement phase. When an enemy infantry unit that does not have the flyer battlefield roll and is within 1 inch of any Black Templars infantry unit from your army is chosen to fall back, roll 1d6. On a 2+, that unit cannot fall back this turn. 1 command point for the Emperor's Will. Use the stratagem in your movement phase when a Black Templars infantry unit from your army advances. Until the end of this turn, models from that unit can still shoot with their pistol weapons and the unit can still charge. 1 command point for Oaths of Honour. Use this stratagem in the fight phase. Select 1 Black Templars scout unit from your army that made a charge move or was charged in this turn. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in that unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. 1 command point for Vicious Riposte. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Black Templars infantry unit from your army is chosen as the target of an attack. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made against that unit on an unmodified save roll of 6, the attacking model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound after that unit has finished fighting. And then finally, 1 command point for Shock and Awe. Use this stratagem in your charge phase. Select 1 Black Templars infantry unit from your army that disembark from a Land Raider Crusader this turn. Until the end of that turn, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at the selected unit, and when resolving an attack made against that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Very, very decent, that one. I like that one. You've got Crusade Relics, you've got Crusader's Helm, Witchseeker Bolts, Aurelian Shroud, Ancient Breviary, Skull of the Cacodominus, and Sword of Judgment. You've got the points values, you've got the tactical objectives, which I'll go through. You've got 11 through to 16. You've got decisive action, score 1 victory point for each enemy unit destroyed as a result of an attack made with a melee weapon by a Black Templars model from your army this turn. Maximum 3 victory points, score an additional d3 victory points if the enemy warlord was in one of those units. 12, forthright surety, score 1 victory point if 3 or more Black Templars units from your army made a charge move or performed a heroic intervention this turn. 13, where it hurts, score 1 victory point if an enemy unit that started this turn wholly within its own deployment zone and that suffered casualties as a result of attacks made by Black Templars models from your army this turn was destroyed. 14, cast down the heathen, score 1 victory point if any enemy character models were destroyed as a result of an attack made by a Black Templars character model from your army this turn. If the enemy warlord was destroyed as a result of an attack made by a Black Templars character model from your army this turn, score d3 victory points instead. 15, aggressive maneuver, score 1 victory point if there are no Black Templars units from your army within your deployed zone at the end of your turn. And 16, dictating the flow, score 1 victory point if any enemy unit suffered any casualties as a result of attacks made by Black Templars models from your army that advanced this turn. Score d3 victory points instead of 3 or more if 3 or more enemy units suffered any casualties as a result of attacks made by Black Templars models from your army that advanced this turn. You've got the name generator, so you've got something like Rictus or Richter, Diedrich or whatever. Anyway, that's always quite a fun thing, and that's it. So that is, it's not really like a full codex, but it's everything it can. I mean, it doesn't have massive amount of fiction and backstory to the Black Templars. It has only 2 pages covering the key characters. I'm sure we'll get a supplement at some point. That would be great, and some updated models. Maybe they go through the Primaris treatment. That would be nice, but we'll see. You've essentially got 5 data sheets, some new litanies, Warlord Traits, Stratagems, Relics, and new tactical objectives, as well as a name generator. So they've done all they could there, but I would have rather it be in its own supplement book. I'm sure we'll get it at some point. Anyway, hopefully that's been useful to you Black Templars players that haven't bought this book, and may be interesting to those of you that may be going up against Black Templars players. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.